My name's Tyanna Buie, and I'm the Grantwood Fellow in Printmaking at the University of Iowa. I'm the youngest of four. I'm from the south side of Chicago, and I grew up in the foster care system, which is something that I am very vocal about. In my work, I tend to use images from my family members and talk about the disconnection of growing up in multiple places and why that's been very detrimental to who I am as a person today. So that's something that I definitely carry as a badge of honor, is who I am and where I come from. And I've learned not to be ashamed of my past, but to truly embrace it. In several of my pieces, I talk about loss or redemption. And there's a piece that I made for the Milwaukee Art Museum that brings together my grandmother, who died around the age of 50, and my uncle, who died before he turned 50. And I made this piece commemorating the both of them and just kind of uniting them in space. And so I used my uncle's ashes from when he was cremated after he died in prison. And I remember all the docents at the museum telling me they loved taking people over to that piece in particular because it was all these little added things that you just couldn't see on the surface. The narrative really actually worked very well, especially for kids to come and hear this story, and then they start to talk about their family dynamics. So I realized how much I really appreciate making work that deals with the family narrative. The Grantwood Art Colony experience has been pretty awesome for me. When I arrived, I just finished having several exhibitions, and I also teach full time. When I got here, I was more interested about learning more about Grant Wood and his influences, actually, and being a part of the natural landscape of Iowa. I think what's happened is it made me be more reflective in my practice and more mindful. And I think that's sometimes a good place for artists to just kind of take a pause and see what's the next step. Outreach is really important to me as an artist. Since I got to Iowa, I was able to do two things in particular. I went to Council Bluffs, and also I reached out to Afro House here on campus and did some great programming with them to get students excited about a skating event that they had. And we made some handmade buttons, and I got the art department involved. So it's really important to me to get everybody together. During this time where we're having to shelter in place, it definitely has changed, I think, my outlook on life in general, but also my role as an artist. I'm constantly questioning what is my role, especially in the middle of a crisis. One thing I've found out that I can do is workshops. So I have been tapped recently to just do workshops where the information is free and making it very accessible, very DIY. The process is actually, it's different. It's different than what I normally do, which is a little bit more labor intensive and you need more equipment to do what I traditionally do. This is a bit more freeing, so I don't have to think about and obsess over, oh, I don't have this equipment to make this work. But for me, it's definitely something that kind of gets me going and keeps my artistic juices flowing to think about the next process. Question that I think artists always get is like, what inspires us? And I realize what inspires me is other artists, and Grant Wood being one of those artists who inspired me, and not just for his art practice, but the way he gave back. And he worked with an artist named Elizabeth Catholic, who is an African-American printmaker extraordinaire, who was the first African-American woman to graduate with her Master of Fine Arts degree from the University of Iowa. And especially in like the 1940s. So that just being in the same space as these two amazing people inspires me to continue to make work.